Hello there, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the altered dominant chords. So if you could please flip over to a page under your voicings section. Should be the third page in, and it looks like this. Altered dominant chords / tritone subs. And I do need to point out just first that I did make a mistake, I noticed here on my A7 altered chord. Hopefully you can see that. Can you please make that a G natural? The note should be A, C sharp, E, G natural, not G sharp. And then B natural on the top, B sharp on the top. That's an error on my part, which I will fix next time. All right, we've been talking about tritone substitution, so these are overlapping and related, and hopefully the knowledge that you know and have utilized with your tritone subs will help with this. Let's discuss what we refer to as the altered dominant chord first. An altered dominant is simply a chord that utilizes the flat 7 with sharp 5 and sharp 9. So again, altered dominant, sharp 5 and sharp 9. It can be notated lots of different ways, and I list a bunch of different things at the top of this page. And you'll notice it says C7 altered, C7 sharp 9 sharp 5, C7 sharp 9 flat 13, C7 sharp 9 flat 13 in a parens, etc., etc. Also, just to keep in mind, many times they'll just write one or the other, either the sharp 9 or the sharp 5. In fact, I think the most common way that we see this notated is simply, for example, C7 sharp 9. And when you see a C7 sharp 9, just add the sharp 5 in. Keep it consistent, and I always say we're going to add the sharp 5 for free. You've heard these chords in lots of different ways. They're used in rock music and jazz, all kinds of American roots music. Here, for example, is a sharp 9 sound. You might recognize that chord. Jimi Hendrix, Foxy Lady, you might have heard it in, there's a tune called Spinning Wheel. So it's used in lots of ways to create tension and to create harmonic interest in a progression, okay? Now, let's just look at this. Say we had a G7 chord. That would mean instead of the 9th, we would sharp the 9. And the 5th, when it says to sharp the 5th, we could think that or we could think 13, flat 13. So here, if we look at all of them just stacked up in a closed voicing, that's a lot of notes. In fact, it doesn't sound that great because there's too many notes in there. We have to kind of clean it out a little bit. So let's look at this. We are going to take out the 5th down here, and instead we're going to add this note, this flat 13 and sharp 5 down here. Okay, so that already helps, okay? And then just to make it grabbable, we're going to add this note down here, the sharp 9, and put it up against the 3rd. Put this, take the root out like we've been doing, take our root out, and then invert the 7th down. I'm going to drop that 7th down. Now, this is a very grabbable chord. This is a G altered dominant chord, or a G sharp 9 sharp 5 chord. Okay, now you should recognize this chord because we already know the voicing for this. We just know it by another name. We've been practicing our 2-5-1s. Then we practiced our 2-5-1s with the tritone, either substituting the tritone like this, or playing it in tandem with the 5, right? But we know this chord by the name D flat. So we already know the voicing for a G altered dominant. So here's how I want you to think about your voicing when we look at altered dominant chords. If you come across an altered dominant chord, I want you to think tritone away, 13th chord. So for example, in A train, we marked in an A7 sharp 9 right before the first ending of that tune. And you can see here on my sheet for the altered dominant chord, it says A7 altered equals E flat 13 with an A in the bass. So that's how we're going to voice all these altered dominant chords, is play a 13th chord a tritone away. Okay, so if I see a tritone, like here we see the second progression where it says D minor 9 to G7 altered, I'm just going to think D flat. This is why they're related to tritone substitution. Here's D minor 9. Here's D flat 13, but I'm putting a G in the bass. If I put the D flat in the bass, that sounds nice. Adds a lot of dissonance, right? Powerful resolution factor. But if I put the G in the bass with this chord, whoa, it really creates interest, okay? So anytime you see a sharp 9 chord, think tritone away and voice it as a 13th chord. You can put these in at will. I add sharp 9 chords all the time. And as we go through our tunes, we'll be able to identify places to utilize sharp 9 chords. And let me just flip over briefly to our A train tune. Why don't you get up, take the A train. Take the A train under T in your tunes. And we see that, hopefully you've marked this in already, on A train, the measure before the first ending, the way that we should play that 6th chord instead of just yield A minor 9 is we should voice it as an A7 sharp 9. So that is an altered chord. We're going to throw in the flat 13 or the sharp 5 for free. The way you would think about voicing that is E flat 13. So when I get there, here's my C major 9. Then this chord, which is now A7, sharp 9, voiced as an E flat 13. 2, 5. Let me play. I'm going to play with my right hand so I can add the root in the bottom. Or we could do tritone substitution off the last chord and make that a G7 sharp 9. Lots of different interesting ways to utilize this. So take a look at the page under your voicing section called Tritone Substitutions and Altered Dominant Chords, and we'll talk more about how to apply those when we meet.